Elrado Voice presents AI for Lawyers: How Artificial Intelligence is Adding Value, Amplifying Expertise, and Transforming Careers. Originally published by Wiley. Written by Noah Waisberg and Dr. Alexander Hudek. This audiobook was created using Elrado Voice AI. Praise for AI for Lawyers. AI for Lawyers pulls together a series of easy-to-read vignettes that cut through the mystique, noise, and bullshit surrounding AI for legal. It provides excellent guidance for lawyers who don't know which way to travel when they finally arrive at the intersection of legal services and technology, which is most of the profession. Mitchell Kowalski, author of The Great Legal Reformation, notes from the field. Noah Waisberg and Dr. Alexander Hudek have taken a complex topic and made it accessible and enjoyable. Like it or not, artificial intelligence and machine learning, particularly when combined with 5G connectivity, computing on the edge of networks, and eventually quantum computing, will advance by leaps and bounds to automate and change the way we practice law. It is also leveling the playing field between lawyers practicing in big firms versus small firms. Wherever, whatever, and however you are currently practicing, AI for Lawyers will open your eyes and make you feel excited and empowered to be part of the future. Louis Lahote, founder, L2 Counsel, PC. Alex and Noah have written a demystifying AI book, which will help lawyers take advantage of AI technology to create new customer value. They cover the key resources and processes needed to deliver value, which will help all lawyers capture this AI-driven value in their go-to-market approaches, enabling them to develop new ways to solve old problems. Michelle Mahoney, Executive Director, Innovation, King & Wood Mallesons. There is little doubt that the legal industry has experienced a cataclysmic extinction moment, where yesterday's ways of working are tomorrow's fossilized memories. The changing expectations of both the consumers of legal services and the next generations of lawyers has seen to it that the practice of law has been changed forever by the arrival of advanced technologies. In AI for Lawyers, Noah and Alex have created the definitive guide on the role of technology in the legal industry. No two authors are better qualified to commentate on how our world is changing. This is a must-read for anyone in the industry and those planning on living a life within the law. Justin North, Managing Director, Moray Global Corporation. The intersection of science fiction and lawyering is both a terrible idea for a movie and a very real problem for attorneys. The terror that artificial intelligence will replace human lawyers and spew steam from the keyboard while trying to define love during an ill-fated document review terrifies some folks. And that's unfortunate because when stripped of its sci-fi mystique, artificial intelligence, here in the real world, is both non-frightening and entirely essential to a thriving 21st century law practice. Waisberg and Hudek's book provides lawyers a friendly, brass-tacks introduction to this oft misunderstood technology and provides straightforward examples of how AI can advance your practice, and, sometimes, how it's already advanced your practice without you even knowing it. Joe Patrice, Senior Editor, Above the Law. Although many lawyers have strong views on the use of AI in the law, very few, in fact, have a solid grasp of the potential and limitations of this technology. Worse, some lawyers even have the temerity to use AI as a verb, claiming, almost arbitrarily, that you can AI this or that legal task. Into this world of bold confusion and brazen conjecture, I therefore extend a heartfelt welcome to AI for Lawyers. This book brings the clarity, deep technical expertise, practical experience, and commercial insight that are sorely needed in the field. Richard Susskind, author of Tomorrow's Lawyers, The Future of the Professions, The End of Lawyers, and Expert Systems in Law. Noah and Alex clearly show that the use of AI-embedded software in the legal world will soon be as ubiquitous as the use of word processing. The authors, a who's who of experts in legal technology, cover an extraordinarily broad range of AI software types and applications, from machine learning to expert systems. The book is an essential read for solo practitioners, all the way up to those practicing in the lofty heights of the elite firms around the world, and for the technology gurus who enable them. To succeed in law in the coming years, you will need to use AI. To be prepared to use AI, reading this book is a must. Harris Tilovitz, Chief Technology Officer, Skadden. I loved this book. AI is increasingly becoming a driver of success for high-performing lawyers and law firms. This book is a quick, easy introduction to it. Every lawyer should read it. Kent Zimmerman, Strategic Advisor to Law Firms. Foreword. When I became a lawyer more than 20 years ago, I knew very little about artificial intelligence, AI. Probably like most of us in the profession, I primarily associated the notion of AI with science fiction in the books and movies of the time. I did not know then that AI was a powerful, real-world technology, one that analyzes data to find patterns that can be used to analyze new data. And I certainly had no idea that, as a lawyer, I would one day be using AI to help advise and represent my clients. When I took on the role of Microsoft's General Counsel a few years ago, one of my foremost priorities was to explore how we could increase the use of technology in our department to address the growing scale of our work, save costs, and produce better results. This is in line with our company's mission to build and use technology to empower people and organizations, including Microsoft, achieve more. By then, I knew that AI was a valuable, transformative technology, one that I wanted our department to leverage in innovative ways. So, how is Microsoft's legal department using AI today? In short, we use it in many ways. Our litigation team uses AI to power our eDiscovery platform, literally transforming the way we manage a full docket of complex, discovery-intensive litigation. Our compliance team uses AI to conduct contract reviews and audits to identify and root out corruption in our third-party sales channels around the world. And our product and sales teams use AI to power purpose-built bots that can answer a wide variety of questions from across the business. There is more to do. Opportunities abound for further improving our work by using AI. To this end, we have established a dedicated team of law and technology specialists to explore and implement new ways of using AI and other technologies across our several practice groups. Importantly, as Noah and Alex explain in their book, AI is not replacing lawyers, it is complementing them. AI augments the work of lawyers and legal professionals by transferring labor-intensive work to specially trained machines that work with incredible speed and accuracy, in some cases across vast volumes of information and data that humans cannot practically analyze, even with large teams. In so doing, AI expands our professional capability and frees up time for work that requires uniquely human skills, like creativity and value judgment and personal connection. and increases the number of clients and matters that can be represented. Simply put, AI operates as a force multiplier, enabling lawyers and machines to do more together than either can do alone. That said, the marriage of lawyers and AI raises important issues. For instance, how do we make sure AI models are trained with trusted data that is not tainted with inaccuracies or bias? What steps may be necessary to preserve client confidences when using AI tools? What criteria should we use to ensure that the results of AI tools meet a lawyer's ethical obligations to perform work competently and with diligence? And how do we explain to clients the benefits and risks of using AI technology in the delivery of legal services? AI for lawyers presents both the opportunities and the challenges, and for this reason, it is a worthy addition to every lawyer's reading list. To those of you who are new to AI, this book will open your eyes to ways in which this technology can improve the experience and quality of your day-to-day work. And to those who may be inspired by the promise of AI, I hope you will embrace and extend the use of AI in ways that revolutionize the practice of law for the better and greatly expand much-needed access to legal services. Noah and Alex clearly share my optimism about AI in the legal profession. Their book is a valuable introduction to the future of AI in the legal profession. Dev Stalkopf, Corporate Vice President and General Counsel, Microsoft Corporation. Introduction. Laurie Waisberg kept checking his watch as he waited for the typist to finish the document. She was making the standard 3 copies using whitener and 2 pieces of carbon paper. He was anxious because he knew that getting extra copies would take time. When she handed the pages off to Laurie, he took off out the doors of his dad's law firm and down 3 flights of stairs, across the street, and continued his pace for 2 blocks, dodging traffic as he made his way to Sudbury's City Hall. They had one of the only copy machines in town, and the Waisbergs could use it in emergencies. Laurie had 2 concerns as he ran. One was that City Hall closed at 4 p.m. promptly. The other was that he might not be able to find the person who held the only key to the copier room. As Laurie made his way into the building, he saw that the clock in the lobby was closing in on 4 p.m. He found Gary, the chief engineer, better known to many as the guy with the copier room key. Gary was grabbing his jacket to head out for the day. "Gary, it's just 3 copies, please," panted Laurie. Gary smiled. "Okay, just for you." And with that, he unlocked the copier room. It was 1959, and technology was a far cry from where it is today. Yet it was the year that U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower first sent a message to Canadian Prime Minister John Diefenbaker by means of a radio signal bouncing off the moon as a forerunner of modern satellite communications. Such long-range communication would be one of many new technologies that Laurie Waisberg would see during this long legal career. After starting at what was then known as Goodman & Goodman, a small firm at the time and today one of Canada's leading firms, he witnessed a parade of new technology, from the popular IBM Selectric typewriters to the new correctable models that made errors fixable. In the early 1970s, the Lexis service was introduced, which allowed lawyers to search case law on computers rather than laboriously poring through books. Fax machines became widely used in the early 1980s, spitting documents out at 1 to 2 pages printed per minute. This was a big improvement on waiting for couriered documents, especially when working with others far away. Shortly thereafter, word processors replaced typewriters. Then, Laurie got a computer on his desk. Then, got the internet. People didn't trust email at first. They wondered who else could see it, recalls Laurie. Eventually, email became a preferred means of communication. Laurie got a BlackBerry. There were large technology changes over my dad's career, a lawyer for more than 30 years. His father, Harry, a lawyer and then a judge, started his legal career in the mid-1930s and saw new technology and other changes over his many years in law practice. When I became a lawyer in 2006, email, the internet, and electronic legal research were standard. But we still regularly used physical books to look up information. The printers was an actual physical place. And while virtual data rooms were popular, I had pleasant in-person due diligence trips to St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Pleasant because the host company inevitably shut its doors at some civilized hour, as opposed to my New York big law firm. As a corporate lawyer, I had little to no specialized technology. We used email, Word, souped up with some fancy toolbars, Excel and PowerPoint, rarely, the internet, virtual data rooms, and document comparison software. Someone passed around a link to an online version of the securities Red Book, but we mostly used the hefty physical version, and we, or our assistants, would diligently insert update pages into it as they arrived. If you asked, you could get Acrobat Professional. And with some real effort and a partner's permission, the firm would even give you a second computer monitor and maybe a laptop. VoIP phones were apparently coming soon, meaning we could take calls from home and have no one be the wiser. We could remotely access our work computer via Citrix. I really appreciated my fancy telephone headset. Things are different now. Obviously, the legal profession has advanced quite a bit since my grandfather and father's days as lawyers, and even since mine. Yet, challenges remain part of the job. I recall having to push hard as I started my law career, sifting through what seemed like endless pages of contracts, balancing multiple deals running simultaneously, and worrying that more work was coming when I saw my BlackBerry's light flashing red. I recall working an all-nighter and sending a draft out just after 6 a.m. Almost immediately, I received comments back from a hedge fund client who had gotten to his desk early. Despite the ongoing changes in legal technology, widespread misconceptions remain that lawyers are loath to adopt new technology, and 2, technology has historically not been a major factor in law. Yet, lawyers have regularly adopted new technology at near ubiquitous levels, and technology has played a key role in changing how law is practiced. For years, technology has made many lawyer tasks easier to complete, raising the performance bar and allowing lawyers to focus more attention on the needs of their clients. Today, artificial intelligence is the latest step in driving the practice of law forward. AI is getting heavily used in law. It offers real advantages for lawyers who embrace it and perils for those who don't. I'm happy to be a part of this change, and, just for the record, my dad is happy for me. Noah Waisberg. The Evolution of Kira. Noah Waisberg and Dr. Alexander Hudek first got together in January 2011, introduced by a friend of a friend. At the time, Noah had recently quit his job as an M&A lawyer at Weil, Gotshal & Manges, a very large New York City firm. Alex had recently gotten a computer science PhD from the University of Waterloo. Alex was doing postdoctoral research at the time. For years before leaving Weil, Noah wrestled with the inefficiencies he, and friends at other firms, struggled with. Junior corporate lawyers spent vast amounts of time doing work they hated, weren't very good at, and clients hated paying for. All at, back then, over $300 per hour. It seemed unsustainable, and perhaps an opportunity. Noah thought, what are things junior corporate lawyers spend a lot of time on? Can they be done better? He played with several ideas, but they didn't seem like they would make great businesses. Then, in conversation with his wife one crisp November day, he started to think about contracts. He realized three things. 1. People spend a ton of time reviewing contracts. 2. They make lots of mistakes in this work, even when they are top graduates from top schools who have been through extensive training. 3. People often review contracts for the same things over and over. In M&A, it can be change of control, assignment, exclusivity, and the like. In securities, maybe it's restricted payments baskets or asset sale covenants. In real estate, it might be base and additional rent, subletting, or maintenance responsibilities, and so on. Since people looked through contracts for the same things over and over, Noah thought it might be possible to build software to help lawyers find and extract this information. He needed a technical partner and teamed up with Alex to solve the problem. Based on talking with Alex and other Waterloo computer science PhD grads, they thought it would take them 4 months to harness available machine learning and apply it to this problem. They thought it might take them 6 months to raise money to pursue their idea, and decided to just plow forward. They could raise money later. After 6 months, the software was not working properly. It just wasn't accurate, and there was little chance it would improve anytime soon. As Alex learned more, he realized the state-of-the-art technology didn't work well on their problem. They faced scientific uncertainty. They might crack the problem in 3 months, but it could take up to 10 years. At that point, they certainly didn't think they could raise any money. Telling a venture capitalist that they thought they would lick the problem in a decade didn't seem like it would make a very compelling pitch, especially when the end product would make lawyers faster at their work. They just kept building. By 2013, 2.5 years later, the software was finally accurate. Early customers found they could do contract review in 20 to 90% less time with the same or greater accuracy. Sales were slow. Few people were paying to use the software. 2.5 years of operations, a hard technical problem solved, but little revenue to show for it. Selling to lawyers, who were reputed to be anti-tech and anti-efficiency, seemed like a hard VC pitch. So they stayed focused on improving the product and getting people to pay to use it. By 2014, there was more interest in the software, and Alex built a crude version of a long-desired feature that allowed users themselves to teach the software to find new concepts. Now, a person could teach the system without feeling the need for a technical expert at their side. This was huge. Clients could highlight and tag provisions in a document, press a button, and it would learn what to look for. This, plus a market that was getting more and more focused on efficient legal work, ignited the sales of Kira. The company grew from 4 to 8 people in 2014, up to some 35 in 2016, as the customer base also grew. In summer 2018, bootstrapped Kira Systems reached 100 team members and took its first outside funding. As we write this introduction in summer 2020, there are 240 Kirans. A healthy majority of the world's biggest and best law firms subscribe to Kira's AI contract analysis software, including 19 of the top 25 M&A firms, 7 of the Vault 10 most prestigious U.S. law firms, 11 of the UK's top 12 firms by revenue, 5 of Canada's 7 sisters, and leading firms in countries including Brazil, Denmark, Germany, India, Norway, and Portugal. It's not just giant firms using Kira. Law firms ranging from solos and smalls to several of the top few firms in places like Missouri or Tennessee subscribe too. So do most Big Four firms, sometimes for their lawyers, but also for thousands of accountants or consultants to use. Plus, a growing number of corporates, which sometimes use the software to help in-house lawyers, but they often deploy it to help them understand what their contracts say to help with business problems, or to augment contract management systems. Why are Noah and Alex worth reading on the use of AI in the legal industry? Why are we well qualified to be a guide through this industry? In some ways, we're not. We run a legal AI software company, and so may be biased. On the plus side, we have been working on legal AI for almost a decade, meaning we're among the longest active people in the industry. We have built among the most successful businesses in legal AI. And we bring individual advantages to the table too. Noah has practiced law, giving him empathy for what it's like to be an attorney. Alex has deep technical knowledge. He began programming computers at age 8, and since has worked on the Human Genome Project, gotten his PhD in computer science, and worked heavily with machine learning on text, as well as formal logics. In the pages ahead, we hope you will come away from this book with 2 learnings. 1. AI is here in law practice, like it or not. It is already in heavy use in parts of the legal industry, and this will only grow. In time, its use will be ubiquitous. 2. AI can be great for lawyers, if they let it. It can help them do more, better work, generating happier clients, give them more interesting and fulfilling careers, and help them make more money. This book is not intended to be an exhaustive review of everything happening in legal AI. We are not going to tell you about all areas where AI is being used in law, or which vendors are best. Honestly, it's changing quickly, and we hope this book will be helpful for years into the future. But there's a deeper reason we wrote this book. We believe that if you come away believing that AI can help your legal career, you'll be able to take the next steps to figure out how. Think of it as more like A Year in Provence or Paris to the Moon than the Michelin Guide. More The Old Patagonia Express or In Patagonia than the Footprint South America Handbook. We aren't going to tell you where to get the best soca in Nice or where to stay in Ushuaia, but hopefully we will inspire you to go. Of course, this book is about legal AI, not France, and we're no Paul Theroux or Bruce Chatwin when it comes to writing. Nevertheless, we are optimistic you will find this book worth spending your valuable time with. Among the many specific points addressed, AI for Lawyers will focus on why AI is now so vital in the legal workspace, and how you can expand your opportunities through AI and technology. How to amplify legal knowledge through the use of AI. The various types of AI tools available, including eDiscovery, legal research, contract analysis software, expert systems, and litigation analytics. How to incorporate AI into large, mid-sized, or small practices. While Noah and Alex are among the most knowledgeable people in the world on contract analysis software and why lawyers should embrace AI, others know more than they do about some areas under the legal AI umbrella. So, along with the expertise of the authors, You will also find significant contributions by leading industry experts on some topics. This includes Carolyn Elephant on AI for solo and small firm lawyers, Mary O'Carroll, Jason Barnwell, and Corinne Geller on modern legal jobs, Dara Nevin on AI in eDiscovery, Jake Heller, Laura Safdie, and Pablo Arredondo on AI in legal research, Joshua Walker and Anthony Niblett on litigation analytics, Amy Monahan and Alicia Ryan supplementing Alex and Noah on contract analysis, and the magisterial Michael Mills on expert systems. Their background, experience, and insights add to the book's depth. You needn't read this book chapter by chapter. Some chapters may be relevant for you in your practice, others not. Chapters 1, 2, and 5 are more general interest, primarily focused on objections to and opportunities from adopting AI. Chapter 4 focuses on how AI is creating new types of legal jobs. Chapter 6 discusses ethical issues around legal AI. Chapter 3 should be interesting for solo and small firm lawyers, but not as useful for big law or in-house readers. Part 2, chapters 7 through 11, focus on specific areas where AI has caught on in law practice. If you're a corporate or tax lawyer, Chapter 10, Contract Analysis Software, and Chapter 11, Expert Systems, should be most relevant for you. If you're a litigator, Chapter 7, eDiscovery, Chapter 8, Legal Research, and Chapter 9, Litigation Analytics, will be more interesting. Part 3, Chapter 12, focuses on adopting AI into practice. The conclusion is more general audience. This book includes many quotes from people we think have something to add. Unless the source is attributed in an endnote, these quotes come from correspondence with the authors. AI is here to stay and is changing how lawyers work. It can significantly benefit your career. If you're not already on board, the time is now. AI for lawyers can position you to get front and center in this new era of law practice. Let's go. Part 1. The point. AI in law is here to stay. It's time to take advantage. Chapter 1. How lawyers learned to stop worrying and love AI. Simon G. is a 46-year-old corporate partner in a major New York-based law firm. He had been a partner for nearly 10 years when he took over as the relationship lead with one of the firm's top clients, a prominent Fortune 500 corporation. This client was a major source of revenue for Simon's firm and several others. For many years, the firm was on the client's panel of legal service providers. To do any legal work for this company, you had to be on its panel. Each firm on the panel was designated for specific types of engagements and projects, and each would form its own deals with the client. Everyone at the firm who worked on this client's team knew in-house lawyers and executives there very well. They had long-standing bonds formed over weeks upon weeks, cooped up in conference rooms working on deals, as well as dinners, drinks, Yankee games, theater nights, parties, and more. The families of the partners and those of the corporate executives also got to know each other and would be invited to weddings and other family events. One senior partner at the firm even bought a summer house to be near a bunch of executives from this client. Every 3 years, the client would go through the process of reselecting its panel of law firms to represent the firm. During each selection process over the decade in which Simon had been a corporate partner, the process had proceeded seamlessly, without even a hiccup. Now, several of the firm's senior partners were beginning to transition into retirement. Simon was in a position to take on the leadership role of this major client relationship. This was everything he had worked toward. But as he prepared to take over the leadership role, he quickly found himself in a major predicament. This time, something was very different in the panel selection process. Instead of Simon's firm and other top-tier firms offering their typical 10 to 20% discounts, several top-notch firms, including a few that had never served on the panel before, were offering crazy discounts, some as much as 50% below their normal rates. Simon knew that these were excellent firms. He couldn't knock their quality, and he couldn't understand how they could afford to offer such low rates. Worse, he knew his firm could not afford to compete against these offers. Simon's heart sank. He realized that despite decades of great work and strong relationship development by Simon and his mentors, it was painfully clear that the firm was going to be priced out of working with this important client. Shocked by how the panel selection was going, Simon immediately got on his computer and started doing what he should have done years prior to the panel review, discovering how law practice was changing, rather than assuming the long-standing relationship with this client would simply continue uninterrupted. Simon spent hours over the next several days studying the competitive landscape, learning about what he and the retiring senior partners had missed. They had overlooked a very important aspect of today's legal industry: the greater drive for efficient work. Now Simon would have to figure out how to make up for falling so far behind his competitors. What he learned was that his competitors, thanks to innovations like AI, were able to do better work in less time. Through tracking and analyzing the time spent to do tasks, as well as realization rates, Simon's competitors could figure out how to offer lower unit prices and still make money. Simon's firm was plenty sophisticated when it came to their legal skills, but Simon was coming to realize they were seriously outgunned when it came to the modern practice of law. To remain competitive, Simon and his firm would have to embrace technology in a big way to win over major clients and potentially impress their, now former, biggest client in 3 years at the next panel review. Simon's problem was not uncommon and not unique to big law. If you're a solo estate planning lawyer, how do you compete with online legal solutions like LegalZoom, who offer a will for $179? If you're a small firm litigator, how do you compete with a bigger firm that has access to case data that's not as easy for you to obtain? If you have a high-volume practice, how do you compete with firms that spend less time on customer intake because they use software that shortens the intake process and provides clients with self-help? Now the question for Simon and his law firm was, could they do it? Could they get back in good favor with their most prestigious client? AI has been a godsend for countless young law firm associates who once toiled late into the night to gather and review data. But has it played a more significant role across law practice? Let's find out. Before launching into the pros and cons of AI and the resistance and opportunities we have encountered, let's explain our definition of AI. What is AI? For the purposes of this book, we consider AI to be any task a computer does that shows human-like intelligence or better. The precise edges of this definition are less important to us than the overall impact that AI and similar technologies have on society and the practice of law. To illustrate, let's talk about a few prominent types of AI tasks and techniques. The field of AI encompasses many subdisciplines, including machine learning, expert systems, and other reasoning technology. At different points in history, A particular technique might be the face of AI. Although expert systems were once all the rage, today deep learning, a type of machine learning, is extremely popular. In fact, not too long ago, arithmetic was considered an intelligent activity that only humans could perform. The term computer originally referred to people who did arithmetic and other math, not a machine that runs software. We wouldn't consider arithmetic to be artificial intelligence today. But 70 years ago, seeing a machine do this was magic. This shows how the definition of AI has a tendency to change over time. As tasks that we once considered untouchable by computers become routine, our definition of human-like intelligence becomes narrower. It's no longer news that computers can dominate at games of chess, and many people today take it for granted that they can speak to their phones. Self-driving cars exist and might become equally ordinary in the years to come. AI can replicate certain aspects of human intelligence, such as pattern matching or categorization, and can often do such tasks much faster and more accurately than humans. However, AI doesn't have motivation and emotion like a human, and is generally not able to do things it wasn't designed to. The notion of a rogue AI is pervasive in popular culture and movies, but the reality is much less frightening. The AI that can learn languages is different from the AI that can hit a tennis ball, and there is no general connection between abilities. You can't assume that just because AI can win at Jeopardy, it will, therefore, make an amazing courtroom advocate. Those are different things. Doing one thing well doesn't mean it can do the other. Although we tend to promote the idea of AI having human intelligence by giving it human names, such as Siri, Alexa, or Hal, it's still unable to emulate most of the human thought process, for better and for worse. All that said, AI is able to do many remarkable things, such as understanding human speech, articulating responses, even writing passable text. How does it do this? It uses expert systems, machine learning, and constantly emerging innovation. First, let's talk about expert systems. These are computer systems that emulate the decision-making process of a human expert by asking a cascading series of questions. For example, an expert system might mimic what your doctor would do when they're making a diagnosis. It may ask, "Do you have a fever? Do you have headaches? Do you feel dizziness?" and so forth. Then propose a diagnosis based on the answers you provided. The questions and decision trees in these systems must be handcrafted by human experts, generally falling into the rule-based or reasoning subfield of AI. Expert systems are a good tool for a variety of tasks, but in many areas they are being replaced by machine learning. Most of the AI you see in the news today is based on machine learning, including all the various deep learning advances. Machine learning techniques allow computers to learn to perform tasks simply by observing data provided to them. It doesn't need experts to manually write complex rules, though it still does need to observe people to learn from them. Although the origins of machine learning are as old as those of expert systems, machine learning techniques didn't become widely effective until computers became more powerful. These systems excel at modeling unpredictable and complex tasks, and can learn at a rate and scale far beyond what humans, manually encoding knowledge in rules, could achieve. From driving a car, to serving as personal assistants, to face recognition, to web translation, to recommending a comedy you might like on Netflix, various types of AI are part of our world in big and small ways. In this book, the technology we discuss falls under our definition of AI. Others may have slightly different definitions of what AI is, but we would rather talk about its impact in law practice than debate the exact boundaries of the terms. In the legal world, AI is being used for contract drafting, negotiation, and review, litigation document review and analysis, predicting case outcomes, suggesting courses of action, organizing legal research, timekeeping, and lots more. It is opening up possibilities never before imagined and allowing lawyers to spend more time on law and less time on repetitive activities. AI is partnering with lawyers rather than replacing them. Appropriate skepticism. Most people are averse to change, and lawyers are often perceived as being more change-averse than average. In fact, Dr. Larry Richard, a psychologist focused on lawyer behavior, has found that skepticism is consistently the highest-scoring personality trait among lawyers. According to Richard, lawyers have an average skepticism score around the 90th percentile, meaning they tend to be skeptical, even cynical, judgmental, argumentative, and self-protective. The general public tends to be at the 50th percentile on this trait, which means they'll be generally accepting of others, more trusting, and often give others the benefit of the doubt. Being skeptical is not necessarily a bad attribute for an attorney. Helping clients mitigate risk is often a big part of the job. Therefore, it's especially understandable that lawyers have concerns when new technology lands on their doorstep. Why should we tamper with success? We've done it that way for 50 years, and look where we are today. While a senior partner making that statement is not wrong, they miss that, despite many things staying the same, a lot has changed in the practice of law over the years. Change is inevitable, and today, technology is leading that change. It's no longer a matter of choice, but a necessity for those who care to stay relevant. While lawyers may be skeptical, history illustrates that when it comes to adopting and even embracing technology, the legal profession has often overcome initial reluctance and aggressively jumped on board. For example, the 1970s saw the influx of computer technology. Law firms were able to use the Lexis Ubic terminal, which later allowed lawyers to search case law online. This opened the door to numerous advances in the union between law and computer technology. Steve Carlotti, an eminent Rhode Island corporate lawyer, tells of their experience at Hinckley, Allen & Snyder LLP with early computer adoption. We installed our first computer to handle time recording, billing, and accounting in 1976. Since then, profits per partner have risen more than 1,200%, at least part of which is due to the ever-increasing use of computers and related software to deliver client services. By the 1990s, eDiscovery had emerged with litigation support and courtroom management software. This made it possible for legal professionals to quickly process, review, and produce electronic documents for research and to use for cases. It simply would not be possible to manage the discovery process of a large litigation, like the Microsoft antitrust case, without it. More recent examples of near-ubiquitous technology adopted by law firms over the past few decades have included PCs, laptops, email, BlackBerries, document comparison software, aka redlining, blacklining, Delta View, and virtual data rooms. AI is just the latest in an ongoing succession of technological advances that have gained acceptance and approval by legal practitioners. However, like technical innovations that have come before, AI needed to meet industry standards, and it's a high bar, so to speak. Common lawyer objections to AI. In the course of pitching our own legal technology, we have had a lot of conversations with lawyers about using AI in their practice. So much so that Noah eventually wrote a children's book explaining machine learning in 256 rhyming